We're going to continue reading Just Grace by Charise, Mericle, Harper, and we are picking up on page 83. Last we left off, she had written her first postcard to Miss, why am I blanking on her name? Luther, and with Crinkles, and that's the cutout of Crinkles. So it's not really Crinkles, it's just the cat cutout, the picture that she made, which is such a clever idea. Okay. Writing the postcard was not very easy, and not as fast as I thought it would be. There was a lot of hard stuff to figure out right at the start of the postcard. Dear Mrs. Luther sounded too official-like, and we decided that Human Mommy sounded too weird, like maybe Crinkles was an alien or something. That's why we had just to write hi. It was the only thing that would work. After that, we had to decide why Crinkles would want to send a postcard from the grocery store in the first place. Projects sure get a lot more complicated once you are really doing them, and not just thinking about doing them. Writing postcard number 2 was easier because most of the hard stuff was already figured out from doing postcard number 1. Mimi did the writing on the postcard just in case Mrs. Luther would recognize my handwriting style since I lived right next door to her. So here is the picture of the second postcard number 2, and it looks like, if you can see the hints in the picture, that they're at the laundromat. Hi again, so this is where you take my favorite cozy blanket to be washed. I miss not being cozy with you. Love, Crinkles. That's cute. There's cut out Crinkles. Mimi wanted to write all the postcards at once, but I said this would not be a good idea because then it would be too hard to not mail them all right away. When something is super fun, it is hard to make yourself stop doing that something, even if you say, we should not do this super fun thing anymore. And then what would happen is that Mrs. Luther would get all her postcards on the same day, which was not the way the big idea was supposed to go. Mimi made me promise that we could make some more postcards tomorrow. And she made me promise that I would not put any more in the mailbox if she was not with me. These were not hard promises to make because Mimi is my best friend, and it is always more fun to do stuff with her than to do stuff by myself. I could hardly keep my joy inside. I was so excited. We ran to the mailbox and mailed postcard number 1. I couldn't wait for Mrs. Luther to get it and start feeling better right away. This is my favorite part of being a sort of superhero. So here we go with Wisconsin and lion poop. That sounds interesting. Grace F. did not go first about telling 2 interesting facts about Wisconsin. This was like a big present for me. Miss Lois said she was very impressed about my Wisconsin discoveries and said that an elephant ride sounded like an exciting thing to try. This was kind of a surprise, since I could not even imagine Miss Lois riding on a bicycle, which is a more normal thing to ride than an elephant. Grace F. seemed really mad when it was her turn and said that her number 1 interesting fact about Wisconsin was the giant muskie, but that since I had already used it up, she didn't want to talk about it again. I said, well, you can't tell about the honeybee or the ice cream sundae. I didn't use those. Just Grace, what have I told you about speaking out of turn without raising your hand? Miss Lois was mad at me. She's ruined it. Now I don't have one single thing to tell about Wisconsin. She told everything. Grace F. was mad too. She was pointing at me, and she was talking, and she was not raising her hand. Miss Lois was shaking her head again. Okay, girls, just all calm down. Then she made Grace F. tell us her 2 facts, even though I had already told about one of them. And when she said the honeybee was the insect of Wisconsin, she did not say that honeybees and wasps are not the same thing and that it can be confusing to tell the difference. This is something I would have said, but I was not going to help her with her project anymore. So here you have the mean wasp, which we learned about in our class. Remember that? Wasps versus hornets. Look, she even drew little angry eyebrows on him. You can't really tell in the picture, but... And then we have a friendly honeybee. Remember, honeybees only really mess with you if you mess with them. Sammy brought lion poop in a glass jar for his show and tell for Animal Week. Most people bring books about animals or a photo of their favorite pet. I am certain that no one in the entire class has ever brought real poop to school before. Everybody except me was impressed. What is so great about lion poop? Even Miss Lois seemed impressed, which was the second surprise I had about her in one day. Sammy looked over and smiled at me. I did not smile back. I did not want him to think that I shared his joy about animal poop, which I certainly do not. Olivia Burchelli brought in a picture of her cat, Pookie. Sammy Stringer put his hand up and said, I don't like cats. That was not a nice thing to say, and also a very strange thing to say, since a lion is really just a very big cat. It is hard for me to think nice things about him. He is too much hard work. Spying for a good reason is not bad. I don't know if I agree with that. Let's find out. As soon as I got home from school, I ran up to my room and looked out. I just totally lost my page. Well, okay. And looked out my window. I was hoping I would see Mrs. Luther smiling and holding up my postcard, but instead I saw nothing. Her drapes were closed. This was very mysterious and confusing. She had never closed the drapes before. What was she doing in there? A dance of joy or a dance of sadness and crying? I couldn't decide what to think. Augustine Duprat was not around to talk to, and I did not feel like drawing a comic, and I could not watch TV because it was before dinner time, so I went outside for a walk around the house. Maybe Mrs. Luther was outside too. She was not. Even Crinkles was not. Walking around the house is not a very interesting thing to do if you do it more than 3 times in a row. I closed Augustine Duprat's window, which she had left open by mistake, and went back inside. This is her picture of walking around the house 3 times. I actually imagined her walking like inside the house, but this is like her walking around the house, which makes a little bit of sense now. I called Mimi and told her we had to an emergency mailing and mail postcard number 2 right away. She couldn't come over, so I had to go do it by myself. It was not as much fun as mailing postcard number 1. Then there was nothing more to do, just wait. Waiting is no fun, no matter where you are. It is almost boring. It's always boring and long enough if you tried it. I'm losing it. After dinner, we all watched a new episode of Unlikely Heroes. Mom is right. It is a feel-good show. It made me feel so good and so much better. And we will pick up next time with trouble. I wonder what kind of trouble she'll get into today, or the next day.